Okay, well, let's start this episode off with our playoff prediction. Now, this has been something that Ryan's been working on for a long time, probably about an hour, doing graphics. And he has a very set order. And like always, we can't break his order. So
Do
if
not
I screw
stray.
up, it's going to be one of those things that I get punished for. So like, click, subscribe, because that reminds me to say those things as well. Am I doing good, sir?
You will not be punished after this episode.
All right, sweet. Well, let's start off with the quintessential matchup of this playoffs, the most important matchup of this playoffs, the one that people care about, the Edmonton versus LA Kings. All right. So this is Edmonton versus LA. This is some pretty intense stuff here, people. Taking a look at some of the stats here, 5-on-5 goals for the Oilers, surprisingly higher than you'd think. But when it comes to goals against per 60, the Kings rather high. The power play, terrible for the Kings. It had been a really bright spot for the Oilers early on in the season, but had kind of tailed. What has been interesting, though, is that the Oilers PK has picked up and the Kings PK has been solid throughout the year. This is an offensive team versus a defensive team. The point difference really isn't that big, despite the fact that the Kings are missing some of their top players. So let's see what people's thoughts are on this matchup. Let's go with some general stuff here. Like, what are your thoughts upon the matchup first? And then we'll go from predictions from there. But let's try to keep this quick because we have a lot of these to go through. Let's go with you, Ryan. Start this one off.
You said it, Baron. This is basically offense versus defense. You have some of the best offensive players in the world in Edmonton with McDavid and Draisaitl. And, Evander Kane has really boosted that offense for that team as well. And then on the other hand, with LA, I mean, you have some of the great two-way centers in Danault and Kopitar down the middle, and they're going to be trying to shut those guys down. So it'll be really interesting to see if they can do it. Losing Doughty, I think, really hurts LA. Trying to shut down those big guns without your number one defenseman, I think that's going to hurt them.
Adam, we'll go to you for this one. What do you think is going to give Edmonton an edge in this series?
Oh, I think it's that spine of centers. Well,
that's just my watch. My watch heard me talking and thought I was talking to it. Go ahead.
I think it's the spine of the centers and spreading out your wealth of skill throughout that lineup, and Woodcroft giving everyone empowerment throughout that lineup to succeed. And we've seen it happen. We've seen the team defense really tighten up as well. And with that, better goaltending as well. So, I
better goaltending.
Wait, Sanjay, you'll get a chance.
Absolutely.
All right, Sanjay, we'll go to you here then.
Woodcroft has come back. Absolutely.
Sanjay, we'll go to you here. What's going to give the Kings the edge then? Because I think that's going to lead to your comment.
Well, I wasn't
saying better goaltending than the Kings, but there will be better goaltending than the Kings in this series.
Confidence. I like it. The Kings, I will say coaching and experience. I think the Kings have a better coach who's been there before. He's made it deep. And the Oilers have as good of a job as Woodcroft has done. This is his first NHL playoffs experience as well, right? So I think that, and he coached under Todd McClellan, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
for years. Yeah, so I think McClellan kind of knows him. It's like Master Splinter and the Ninja Turtles. Like the Ninja Turtles were young, but Splinter, he was older. He knew how to defeat him. So for that, I'm going to say that the Kings have the coaching advantage and experience because they've been there before.
Now, Cindy, you pointed out something earlier, which was the Oilers were in kind of a little bit of a slumper in the season, and it looked like things were getting kind of bad. The Kings have kind of been consistent. I don't think anyone really had the Kings as one of their teams to be in the playoffs this year. So they've done a really good job of bringing themselves back into this. But it does feel like it's two different storylines that are kind of emerging together there. When it comes to this matchup, we'll just go straight to predictions, I think, and like what you're going to do, or sorry, how many games you think and who will get it. But we'll go from there, and we'll start with you then, Sanjay. Who's going to win the series and how many games?
All right, I'm going to take the upset. I'm going to take Kings in 6.
There we go. I have Oilers in 6. I have Oilers in 6. Like I said, I think Doughty being gone hurts. And I think that, since Woodcroft's come on, there's been no hotter team in the NHL. So Oilers are heading in really on a hot streak, and that always helps going into the playoffs, feeling confident in yourself. Although I do want to point out, Adam was saying that their defense is really tightened up. I was actually looking at the numbers, and their defensive analytics aren't that different between Woodcroft and Tippett. It's fairly similar. The difference has been Mike Smith. He's been posting unreal numbers. I think it was like the 940 save percentage, somewhere around there.
He's had 2 shutouts back to back in that time.
It's been nuts. So, I mean, I'd be a little hesitant on that because I don't think at this point you can say Smith is a 940 goalie. So at some point he's going to cool down a bit. So we'll have to see how Edmonton handles that. But offensively under Woodcroft, they've done a lot better, especially with Evander Kane really starting to heat up and feeling confident once they picked him up. So I think hopefully they can outscore their troubles.
Adam, slap him back. Give him something.
Fun. Edmonton in 4, boys. Clean
Whoa.
sweep. Moving on.
Wow. You're not even giving the Kings 1.
I'll go Edmonton in 5 myself.
That's what I was going to take, but you know what? Screw you.
I think it's gonna be an interesting series. I think it is going to be tighter than people think. They got 2 of the best shutdown guys out there, but I do think if you look at the thing I've noticed in the switch since Woodcroft has come is how those 3rd line and 4th line players actually contribute, and that is not something that they were doing prior to that.
He finally put Nugent Hopkins on the 3rd line, which we've been talking about forever, right?
But they couldn't before that either, right? Till they got Kane. They got Kane,
I suppose, yeah.
And the other thing I think that pops up here is that when we're talking about whether or not the defensive numbers are better, I can tell you a defense core without Drew Doughty versus a defense core with Darnell Nurse. I think I know which one I'd like. That being said, the Oilers have given me nothing to have confidence in them at any point this year. Not this year, even just like the last 2 years, playoff wise, where they've also been the favorite. But I'm going to ride it out and say, hell yeah, this is the year. This is the year all the Canadian teams go to the second round.